research, what are some of the effective practices that you've seen teachers who are working with students with learning disabilities? What were some of those great practices that you've seen?
Well, I think that it's like important to recognize that those aren't necessarily different practices than what really effective teachers of all kids use in mathematics. So in one study, I looked at a teacher over the course of a year who had an inclusive classroom, and we studied what teacher moves she was doing to include all the students and how those changed over time. And one of the things we found is that first, she had a real strengths-based approach to thinking about students with disabilities and all of her students. So she thought about students with disabilities not as having deficits, not as needing to be fixed, but she truly saw them through a strengths-based lens. When I asked her in interviews, like, oh, describe this child to me, out would come a story about the child, like something beautiful the child had done at recess, something about the child's friendships and relationships, and she was always paying attention to like the whole child, not focused on what they didn't know. So she also had a view of mathematics as like a web, not a ladder. So she saw math learning as not something where you learn this and then you learn the next thing, and so if you don't know this, you can't move on. She included her kids in very challenging mathematics. So I have video of her doing a division of fractions problems with her fifth graders in an inclusive classroom, and every kid being able to solve the problem because she left enough time for them to solve it. She encouraged them to take as much time as they needed. She had them draw, she had them use manipulatives. They made their choices about what they did, and then they all shared freely. And so she had a strengths-based mindset. She believed that math was a web, allowed kids time to solve problems, and she really communicated to them all of the time how math is not something you do fast. So she would say, oh, we didn't finish our problem and it's time to go to lunch. Well, that's okay because mathematicians don't finish problems in one day, so that's great. We're being mathematicians. She would say math is not something you do fast. Math takes time to think, and so she would always give plenty of wait time. She also had kids turn and talk in groups. They got to choose whether they wanted to work on problems alone or in pairs or in groups. And that choice was really successful for kids because they were able to find a structure that worked for them. And lastly, she had really skilled questioning. She was able to take a task and in the share of the task, get all of the students to participate and to leverage ideas into like more complicated mathematical thinking. So a lot of these things I'm describing are really just good, the kind of good math teaching we're trying to get everybody to be able to do. In her case, she was able to support a wide range of kids in an inclusive classroom through those really high quality math practices that we're encouraging all teachers to do. And a lot of our teachers do that.